Hey, welcome to Command HQ. It is October 2nd, 2023, and we had Judge Engoron in New York hold trial today, the first day of trial in Trump's civil fraud case, Agent X. We were following this very closely. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm glad Trump actually got up when he came in this morning. He stood outside and gave sort of a little speech. Didn't really take questions. Kind of did, but didn't really. Railed on Letitia James, the most corrupt, unfit, worst person. She's unfit to be an attorney. Low IQ person. Completely ran on persecuting Trump, not prosecuting, persecuting. Didn't even have anything. Didn't really have anything to prosecute him on, but just wanted to prosecute the man, admittedly, and went and started basically digging around and subpoenaing things and concocted a case, if that makes sense. And went and instead of bringing a criminal case, right, she brought a civil case with a lower burden and would arguably be more devastating with the cancellation and liquidation of his businesses. So I'm glad he got out in front of that and railed on her, because she's really unfit. She's unfit across the board. I've had dealings with her, and I think she's literally the scum under my shoe. I think less of her than that. She's an awful person. But he also came out and he went swinging at the judge. And like I was telling you before the stream, all this blame gets heaped on Elena Haba because she didn't request a jury trial. And the theory is, from people like the Midas Touch and Michael Cohen and those losers over there, is that they didn't request a jury trial because they didn't think it could get overturned. They knew that they were going to get nailed by a jury. It doesn't have to be unanimous in a civil case. And the theory was they'd have a better chance on appeal trying to challenge the findings of a judge than a jury. And I don't think that's the case. I think that they really shot themselves in the foot, because Judge Engoron has attracted so much media attention to this case, and not just with his order last week, with all that sanction stuff that was going on about 10 months ago, a year ago. The news has highly publicized it, and he would have never, if the case was going to a jury, he would have never issued that summary judgment order like that. He knew he was well insulated. And what Trump doesn't realize is that these appellate courts, the First Department and the Court of Appeals, they're made up of the same cronies, just like Engoron. I mean, these cronies are worse because they won't even give you a full decision in the First Department. What they do is they'll grant or 99% of the time deny your appeal in less than 3 sentences, and you have no idea what the basis was. Same thing with the Court of Appeals. Even if you have a appeal as of right, these losers on the New York Court of Appeals construe everything as it has to be an appeal. You have to be granted leave to appeal anything, even though the statute is plain that you have an appeal as of right, and they'll just swat it away with a one line: motion for leave to appeal denied. So Trump is in a world of trouble, and I'm glad he fought back. It seemed like he got a win at the end of the day when Engoron said that that the statute of limitations, which the appellate division said that, I think I had summarized this for you a few weeks ago, and maybe you tweeted it out, was the appellate division said that a bunch of the claims had to be dismissed for statute of limitations purposes. and Engoron wouldn't rule on that, and sort of plowed on with trial, ignoring that appellate division ruling, and wouldn't make a determination as to which claims were barred by the statute of limitations. And I guess finally, at the end of the day today, after they had their opening statements and called the state called their first witness, he finally acquiesced that some of the claims were barred by the statute of limitations. I mean, I don't know what effect that has. Trump is claiming 80% of the stuff is knocked out, but I don't know 80% of what? The claims, the damages, what? I mean, he's going to get hit with a massive judgment. And I think you could tell he was fired. He had more fire in him today than he's had going around on the campaign trail. And you could tell he was pissed. Like, apparently he's more pissed off at this than the criminal stuff. And the criminal stuff is like pretty freaking scary, bro. I mean, they're gonna toss his ass in there for life. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, this case here is not just an attack on him, and it's an attack on his family and everything he's built up. But yeah, I think it's just I'm glad he stood up for himself today, because you should never. I mean, everyone goes into these judges and they're meek and they say, "Respect me. I have authority. I have the authority." You know, and it's finally we finally need to start standing up to these judges who have granted themselves immunity, who have granted prosecutors immunity. It would be interesting to see if Letitia James would have immunity in this case. I would suspect yes, but it would be an open question since it's a civil action and not a criminal action. So it would be interesting to see. But
oh, sorry. When you say Letitia James has immunity in this case, what do you mean? Of course she has immunity. What piece of this would she not have immunity about?
Well, since it's a civil case, right? So prosecutors generally have immunity for actions within the scope of their employment, but that's always been brought up in the criminal context, right? Since it's a civil case, I don't know. I mean, my guess would be yes, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you class. It's a civil case, but it kind of borders the line of a quasi-criminal case as well. So I don't know.
Well, with the show cause and the contempt, you could make that argument. But of course, she has immunity. But that's not so much what I'm concerned about. I'm just interested in what you mean. You mean she could be sued? Is that what you're saying? Because she lacks.
He could potentially bring an abuse of process claim against her.
Okay.
And against her personally. And if I were going to do that, I would go and cite all those campaign videos where she said, "We're going to go after Trump. He's going to know my name." You know. But since it's a civil case, I don't know. I mean, would she have immunity? I think it's kind of an open question. I mean, it's an enforcement action, but it's a purely civil case. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you'd have qualified immunity or what, but it's certainly not a criminal case where absolute immunity for prosecutors attached. I don't know. I mean, it's a question you'd have to research, but I think it's more open than what you would think, since it is a purely civil case.
Well, that's a good question, and I think that Trump and Trump brand, the businesses themselves, should be suing Letitia James and testing that theory out to see if she's.
You have a notification thing. Oh, you got rid of it. Dude, I think you should play your Engoron video. It got over 1 million views today.
All right, we'll play it so I can spell this correctly. Where are you? Right here, right here. Okay. Let's turn the volume up.
1.1 million views on this. This is like this hits this. This is so good because it hits at the nerve of Democrats because they keep posting
Agent X exposing the predator class.
Claiming it's a water bottle, and every water bottle is different. It doesn't look exactly like it, and you can see he's got like 3 or 4 of those bottles on the floor. It's very weird. Somebody was analyzed and said, I don't know, he's taking a sip rather than actually like getting a gulp of water, and he sits it down on the floor. It's very weird. But it's definitely a parody sort of video, but it really irks them. And you're getting a lot of love for the video too, because it just shows what a schlub, what a freaking hobo he looks like. But go ahead and play it if you want.
Want to see the judge that held Trump in contempt? Want to see the judge that canceled Trump's business registrations without a trial? Just watch this hobo judge drink from a 40 during a hearing.
I have a feeling that judgment is going to be vacated. I don't like to second guess myself, but I might have goofed on that one.
Dude, it's a perfect video. It's literally a modern art masterpiece, that video. I love it. It's really, really good.
It did get a lot of views. I mean, it got I think 800,000 views in 3 minutes. It was incredible. I've never seen anything quite like it. I mean, we've been seeing some huge view numbers lately with these Engoron videos, but this one certainly took the cake, and it was well suited, I think, for the context of this civil fraud trial. And if you notice, as we were watching this morning, as best as we possibly could, asynchronously, Engoron kind of got on the NBC news feed.
Yeah, I just sent you a link.
5 seconds. Yeah, okay, let me pull it up.
You can see his fat ass law clerk sitting there right next to him within hand job distance. But yeah, you should pull up her Twitter after we show this video. So there's Trump, there's Elena Haba with your laptop there, the Asus ROG. I guess she's doing some gaming or some video editing. Look at these weirdo, ugly ass motherfucking, just like they look like they belong in some kind of, like special school. These prosecutors over here, look at them sniveling and laughing. None of them look like normal people. You have to remember, these are the people that graduated in the bottom of their law school class from like Albany. Oh crap, that doesn't have him turning around. Let me find it on Twitter real quick.
No, it does, I think. I stopped it right here, but I just wanted to say this is Letitia James staring at Trump, and it's almost like she's got a rubberneck here trying to annoy Trump, although of course he's seated the other direction. Let's see if we got Engoron here smiling, and it's such a creepy smile. Oh yeah, you're right, doesn't have it. You sent it to me earlier today. I was gonna grab it.
Let me grab it.
It's an NBC News or an MSNBC News clip.
I got it. I got the Fox News clip. I guess they had a poll reporter. Okay, I'm sending it to you right now. Dude, Elena Haba, mommy. She's mommy.
Mommy Haba.
She's looking so good, man. Look at mommy there.
There's a camera in that courtroom. Was that supposed to
Mommy.
be, or would they just be simply ushered out when we're gavelled to order?
I like the guy who edited that picture of her sitting on Trump's lap at the counsel's table.
Yeah, it was good.
Judge. And quite frankly,
dude, look at that. She's such a hideous looking person.
And when she did this before everybody made a big deal out of it. Sorry, I gotta pause this for a second. Before everybody made a big deal about the way that Letitia James is looking at Trump here, this reminded me of so many other people who looked at me who just show up randomly, and they're like obsessive creeps who have done nothing but, basically stalk me throughout the years. And they show up in these situations, and this is like their defining moment in life when they can, finally show the world that they're taking down, the big guy. Or that's probably a terrible phrase to use considering Biden's use of it, but to take down this, someone who they are just obsessing over. And this is exactly what Letitia James looks like here. But let's look at Engoron here.
This live picture right now will be either filled with rage or they will be thrilled. And that's the problem, is that you have James now being shown in the background. You've got Trump in the foreground.
So,
and it fulfills the narrative on both sides. Trump
here's
is
his Larry David
right.
pose. So, Agent X, let me ask you this. You've been in a lot of courtrooms in your life. Have you ever seen a judge, particularly in this courthouse, in the Manhattan Supreme Court, act like this in front of a full camera?
And it's these New York weirdo judges who are obsessed with the press. Like, they're obsessed with grabbing headlines in the New York Post. And obviously, I've dealt with them. And this way more than one. And this guy is equally obsessed with it. I mean, he gave a speech and said, "Oh yeah, I like to see nice things about myself in the newspaper."
He did say that. What was that speech given like 7 years ago or something?
Yeah, something like that. But
that's another gold mine for material.
But what was funny was, like, somebody asked him, "Do you think judges should have judicial immunity?" He's like, "Yeah, of course. We're just doing a job." Well, and that's his rationale for it. Is like, "Oh, we should be entitled to judicial immunity because we're just doing a job." Well, everybody else is just doing a job, and they're not entitled to give themselves immunity from suit. I mean, that's ridiculous. What a ridiculous argument to make. I could think of probably 10 better things to say to justify immunity, even though I don't think it should. I don't think judges should have absolute immunity. But yeah, no, this is wild. But yeah, he's just giggling and laughing. Dude, he should be in control of his courtroom. But if you can scroll back to it real quick, let's look at his ugly fat law clerk there that Trump has sort of. So apparently our stream has gotten back to Trump because he was in full attack mode at lunch over Allison Greenfield, the law clerk here, sitting next to Engoron within handjob distance. But wait,
there's so many questions to ask here before you even get into that. Why is she so chummed up and close? It looks almost like they're cuddling on the bench here.
I think it's weird. Like, law clerks go in the courtroom and they have their own little desk to sit at normally. This is extremely weird that she sat at the bench. And there was an article. There was an article today that said Engoron has a very lax demeanor in the courtroom, and she's like his enforcer. And she goes around and takes control. And we saw that in the Wallach hearing, right? He was just bumbling around, wanting to talk about Shrek and are you related to?
Oh yeah, it was a huge social thing. Yeah.
And she just jumped in, and was like calling the shots,
bossing him around, wearing the pants. Yeah, it was almost like, she was like, it wasn't even like a wife-husband relationship. It was more like an owner-slave relationship where Engoron was doing whatever she wanted him to do.
Well, Engoron is 74 years old, so his mandatory retirement age is 75, and he's done. He can't run again. He can't continue to serve. He has to retire, and he's going to have like a $240,000 pension that he doesn't deserve. He's a complete hobo and a bum, and as Trump said, he should be disbarred for what he did in that decision. It was radically inappropriate. You never go to the tax assessor to appraise property. You go to the experts. You have the party submit expert appraisals. That's what you do in any real estate transaction. He just cherry picked evidence, but it was this fat, schlub here who wrote the decision. No doubt. I mean, it was full of typos and errors and stuff. And you know that this Brooklyn Law dropout here wrote the decision, not the guy who went to New York Law, New York NYU. This Brooklyn Law dropout here is the one who wrote the freaking decision. And if you can pull up her freaking Twitter or her Instagram, and we can kind of show people, like, Trump viciously attacked her, and he had every reason to. Like, there's no reason she should be sitting up there like that, like acting like she's a judge. She needs to get her fat ass down and sit at the clerk's table. And Engoron should be ashamed of himself, not being able to control his courtroom and laughing like a complete freaking bum to the cameras. He should be ashamed of himself. But let's look at this loser's Twitter here.
So look at
what man! Oh, she privated it.
I know.
Fuck,
we've had an amazing impact too.
Screenshots. Fuck! I'm so glad I fucking clipped them. I'm so glad that I clipped them the other day, bro. Dude.
We both have them clipped actually, and I know that others do too.
And clip them all, bro. I clipped them all.
But this shows you the negative sort of coverage she's got, that she's willing to private her Instagram because she knows she's engaging in misconduct and unethical activity.
Dude, they must have filed a motion.
We had predicted it.
They must have filed a motion. Holy shit. If she went
We had predicted that she was going to do this a couple days ago. In fact, I think it was 2 days ago. We said that Greenfield is immediately going to seal her Twitter and her Instagram up as soon as she possibly can. That's why taking screenshots of everything was a good idea. So we have those. We might have to go through those at another point when we have them more organized and ready to go. But
I can't believe here.
She's got pictures with, so what we're getting at here, she's got pictures with Chuck Schumer, with Carolyn Maloney, and it's littered with these hashtags for, Democrat and progressive and all these social justice causes. And here she is running for Engoron's seat and making these wild political stances within her social media profiles.
Hey, I just sent you those are all the images I have. You might have more, but they're not on the stream chat, but on the other chat. If you want to download them, pull them up.
Grab.
Dude, which one should I grab?
Movie. Yeah, you got some good ones. Should we get the Carolyn Maloney one?
Yeah, pull them all up. Pull up the one with crying Chuck, bro.
Alright, I'm loading.
Dude, the fact that she privated her account, it's an admission of fucking guilt, bro.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's an excellent
Let me
point.
look to see if they filed a motion.
Here's the Instagram with Chuck Schumer.
Yeah, man, this is bad. So thrilled to attend the Chelsea Reform Democrat Club Founders Brunch today, honoring Schumer and Maloney.
Right, and it's not just some random photo with Chuck Schumer. As you can tell, Greenfield has done the @ symbol, which is a direct communication, obviously, to Chuck Schumer and Carolyn Maloney. She's missing some spelling there, some grammar. And it appears as though she's claiming, the way that I'm reading this just very quickly, that she's in some way maybe endorsed by these individuals for this seat. So that just tells you everything you need to know.
Right? Yeah, she was running for a seat. I'm trying to pull up some more photos. It's really bad. I know we like spend too much time with Trump on our stream, and we really should be talking about other issues, but it's just like a microcosm of what's happening in this freaking country is how bad they're treating Trump. It's they're turning around and doing yeah, just turn around and doing it to us. I guess they didn't file any motion. They filed a letter requesting. Trump's team isn't even doing anything. They didn't respond to the media request. Let's see. They have the opening slides here. Anyways, but yeah, no, I mean, she's going around hashtag Democrat, hashtag pull up some more. Go back. I only saw you pull up one. I was looking at the docket one before this.
Got the Caroline Maloney one.
Yeah, okay. What's up?
We got another Maloney one. We've got, let me pull up some other ones here. This one.
Yep.
There's no way you can hide from this. I mean, she publicly posted this.
Yeah, there's some other ones, and maybe we didn't. Hopefully, you got them where she's just like hashtag Democrat for everything.
I do have them, and I don't have them ready to go on the stream because they're on a different computer. So
we can talk about them later. But the fact that she privated
this
account.
one. Let me see. Yeah, here's one. She's hashtagging Democrats right here.
I wish I had the one where she said abortion is healthcare.
That's true. She did say that. We'll have to find that next time we stream.
I'm trying the Wayback Machine right now. I'll see if there's anything in there. See if they captured anything.
I mean, what does this tell you, though, about these judicial positions that she's so blatant, really, about her bias? She's putting it everywhere online while she's campaigning for the seat. Nothing wrong with campaigning politically, but when you're dealing with such a corrupt process and you're dealing with people's lives...
it's awful. I mean, she should have more restraint than this, right? She should have... It's one thing to run for office, but... And even the judges, I mean, like, nobody goes around and talks about, like, political stuff, even though they have affiliated with a political party in judicial elections. I never see judges talk about stuff like that. They talk about, we want to expand access to the court.
Well, it's not like they're not giving, stump speeches by any means, but they're certainly not advertising that they're being endorsed by,
right.
By the Village Independent Democrats, for example.
Well, it's not just that. It's, you don't have judges going out and saying abortion is healthcare.
Or stuff like that.
They're more restrained than that, right? But, dude, I think you should submit a letter to the court attaching all your screenshots and be like, hey, I want to bring it to the party's attention and in the interest of fairness that the principal staff attorney posted things like hashtag Democrat, da-da-da-da-da. They're attached here, and that she set her Instagram account private after it was That's what I would do. Dude, I would, if I were you, man, I would inject myself right in the fucking middle of it.
Well, someone has to do something. I might do that actually.
I think it's important to make a record in the court, and I think you could.
Mhm.
I think you could. You could. All you need to do is register an e-file account, and you can go into the case and file it.
I might consider that. And I think, if anything, people should be filing ethics complaints, bar complaints, judicial complaints in this case, against both Engoron.
Well, I think it just really looks bad. It looks bad, the fact that she posted all this stuff going #Democrats, abortion is a right, this and that. And then now, the first day of trial, she's made it private so people can't go and inspect it.
She was also completely made up today for court. If you remember, during the Wallach hearing, you know, just like Engoron, she really wasn't made up at all. She looked pretty dumpy. And today, it was like she dressed up for this, you know, quote-unquote special occasion. And, you know, they also polished Engoron up, too, which is weird, right? Because... you know, he combed his hair, he took a shower.
In his chambers.
I mean, he does, and I'm not even exaggerating this. He does behave like a hobo. I mean, the fact that he would have such a disorganized chambers, for one, and there were papers everywhere, there was dirt on the wall. I mean, even if this is a state courthouse, and you're not technically responsible for it because it's not a private business, you would think that you would have a little more respect, that your 30-year-old air conditioner, that you'd actually wipe off the dust, or you'd wipe off the dirt, or maybe you'd even go and buy your own. Maybe you would go and buy your own.
It's being held together with duct tape. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, and then it's not only that. I mean, that was an obvious one. It was like he had his... I was questioning whether or not he was peeing in these Tanqueray bottles, because there was bottles littered on the floor everywhere, and you could see him kind of like jutting up during this Wallach contempt hearing. And I really think just like, what the hell's going on here?
I really think you should file a letter tomorrow and be like, hey, I think it's in the interest of fairness that I bring this to the court's attention, that Miss Greenfield made these posts that are obviously partisan, that were, quite frankly, even outside of what a judicial candidate should say. But they're obviously partisan posts, highly partisan posts. And then on the first day of trial, she privated the account so the public can now not access it. It's really fucked up. It's not like, it's not like she made these statements like on her private account, and she can, it looks less bad to yank them back, right? Like, she made this in the course of a public campaign, an office she was campaigning for. It should be part of the public record. And here she's covering up. Bro, I'm telling you, you would be a fucking hero to the MAGA world if you filed that letter.
Well, I'm not looking to be a hero to the MAGA world. I just want to...
you want fairness, man.
I want to mitigate some of this corruption here. That's not I don't want to be biased. But, I mean, it's very clear here what she's doing and what they're all doing. And, there are so many instances. We could go on for hours and hours. But, one thing that comes to mind is right when Engoron was getting his, 5 seconds of fame, when he was smiling before those pool cameras, immediately after doing so, he looked over for confirmation or affirmation from Letitia James and the state. And to me, that was like a subconscious cue that everything he's doing here, he's playing up so that he can really fuck Trump over, and that, he can, score points for Letitia James or whatever, the Democrats that run Manhattan. And it's just so highly dysfunctional, and it just reminds you of how disgusting New York City really is. Not so much some of the, blue collar working class people, but it's these political, like the gangs in New York, man. It just never goes away, and it gives you this like toxic feeling, like you can't get anything done in New York because it's so unbelievably corrupt. But I mean, let me ask you this, Agent X. Do you think we had an impact on Engoron even pulling back at all?
Yeah, I think we did. I think that video hit him pretty hard. We had a similar video up last week that got over 1 million tweets. But I think, dude, to have an impact, I think you got to submit this letter and just be like, as a member of the public observing this, I think this is highly unfair, and that all parties should be made aware of it.
Right now, I'm generally always kind of mid-level busy, but right now I am more busy than usual. If I had more time to write that letter and get it out, I probably would, and maybe I'll sit down tonight, but I've really only had like 4 hours of sleep.
Dude, I'm gonna write it for you. Let
me pull up open these extra. Speaking of only having a few hours of sleep, because I've been making all these videos and making sure that the timing is correct.
Forgot some of your videos have just been masterpieces, just like the Engoron video, absolute masterpiece.
Put up this one. I mean, we're really the only ones. I mean, of course, he's got those videos up on YouTube, but we're pretty much the only one who has, or at least did, have this sort of private in-chambers video. And so when this got released, and for whatever reason, God puts us in these positions, Agent X, I don't know what it is. I always say that, but we're always sort of like in the middle of this whole storm. But, we were given access to this footage. And so when I have been working tirelessly to get this footage out and to make these videos, just to make sure that we can keep the focus on Engoron and make sure that he can't just, sneak out of any criticism. And that's exactly what they want to do. They'll try and say, we're being intimidated by the public, or we're receiving, quote unquote threats. And it's always a lie, of course, but that's what they do to try and sneak out of this criticism. And we just want to make sure that doesn't work, particularly obviously because he's doing this to Trump. But the other thing is, it's like a tyrannical dictatorial system where these judges can rule over people's lives, and it just takes one of these corrupt judges to do this to someone. And that's exactly what the world is seeing right now. And I mean, what do you think about this system? And the appellate court isn't going to do anything here. No. Like, why are these judges given such enormous power in these systems? I mean, the president of the United States doesn't even have this much power. They have they can issue.
I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy. These judges are pretty much untouchable, and the federal judges are worse, right? Everybody looks at federal judges like they're gods, but really they're untouchable thugs. They carry out political hack jobs worse than anybody. But these state court judges, it's all a huge cabal. It's organized crime. What they do. For lots of different reasons. The fact that you go and file a divorce case and you better have $100,000 to just to get through the first week, because they'll hit you with experts and supervisors and investigators and those hit you across the board.
It's insurmountable.
But it's not just like that for that. I mean, just look at landlord-tenant stuff. It's incredibly corrupt. highly favors landlords.
I was thinking about this today, and I think it's, you think about, they're always complaining that they lack resources in the judicial system, particularly when things get close to trial, right? That's what they always say. But that's really not the truth. I think it's all intentional to try and say that so they can preserve this sort of power over people's lives. Because they could easily just a lot more positions for judges and stuff, especially in these trial courts, not so much in like state Supreme Courts or federal appellate courts or, of course, the U.S. Supreme Court, but especially in these trial courts, I mean, they could easily do that, or they could figure out a way to direct a lot of the less serious stuff to, different magistrates. But here we have a system that's kind of designed and rigged to control every piece of your life, and you brought up divorces and real estate and stuff like that. And the amount of money for the average person, and Trump, I mean, is getting totally screwed over here, but for the average person, it's a lot worse.
I mean, think about any aspect of your life that's not somehow at some point touched by the court system, right? Like, everything is totally, you don't pay your taxes, where are you going? You're going to tax court. You have an issue with your landlord, well, you're either going to end up in landlord-tenant court, or if you have a mortgage, you're going to end up in foreclosure. You have a loved one pass away, well, you're stuck in probate court. It just goes on and on and on and on. There's, the average person isn't touching courts, that frequently. But if you step out of line, you're immediately, you immediately fall into one of those buckets, right? You have a custody dispute. You want to get a divorce. We've manufactured a system where everything is touched by, the courts in some way or some fashion. Particularly as more people go through divorces and have to deal with, those issues. But yeah, it's really, I don't know. It's really problematic, particularly with the way these judges have given themselves so much power through immunity and, basically, I was reading an article, which was interesting because they used to have a smoking room in that courthouse in New York that Trump was in.
That is kind of
where all the judges would go and smoke in this room, and they used to have their own formal dining room. This now turned into the clerk's office that all the justices would eat lunch and dinner at together. So they always smoked. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, it had a fireplace. It's pretty big. But, can you imagine that? I mean, these people always thought themselves better than the lowly plebe class.
Yeah, when you're reading biographies about all these judges, back in the 70s and 80s, they would make a big deal out of just a judge who would go up and eat with a regular person or go out to a restaurant or whatever. And you can see this elite predator class system kind of built into the Manhattan Supreme Court here. And of course, over the years, it's kind of been eroded a little bit, but yeah, I mean, that's exactly how they think.
Yeah.
And these jobs to rule over people's lives are incredibly easy. I mean, they just show up, they sit there and they just mock people for fun, and then they make decisions that are usually biased and usually potentially predatory. And what they've done to this country, the judicial system as a whole, especially judicial immunity, prosecutorial immunity and stuff. I mean, it is so un-American to carve up like this shield to say that you are immune from criticism, and if you dare criticize me in any sort of forum, that we're going to destroy your life. What does that sound like? That sounds like a sociopath. That sounds like someone who you want to be as far away from as you possibly can get. So, this is now entrenched in our American system, and you don't see this in other countries, do you? I mean, well, I guess you do see presidential candidates getting raked over the coals, but you don't necessarily see the judicial system as corrupt as it is in Europe, at least post World War II. But this is really, we're stepping back into what, we're almost, what's the word? What's the word when we're regressing at least 70, 80 years in this country, probably 130 years, by engaging in this kind of activity. And if you were on Twitter or X today, Agent X, was it just overwhelmingly negative in terms of the comments against Engoron and this whole fraud, the civil fraud case?
Wait, say that again. I didn't catch all that.
So if you were on X, just on the internet today, were the comments pretty much overwhelmingly negative in terms of criticism directed at Engoron?
No, it's bold. We're so polarized. It's pretty split down the middle. I'm reading this article here in the New York Post where Engoron pleaded to the media to stop reporting that he valued Mar-a-Lago at $18 million, and he didn't do that. Well, dude, yeah, you adopted the assessor's value of it. It's ridiculous. So you did value it at that. But
send me the link.
Yeah, we're so polarized, right? I don't think we're ever going to be able to pull it back. I was talking to you about this the other night. Everyone there's the meme that men think about the Roman Empire all the time, right? Or they admit it. And you have that guy who's sitting on the porch out in the country who's like, oh yeah, when the Roman Empire was collapsing, you had like the politicians would bring all the people to the Colosseum and give them grain and bread and show them these shows to distract them. Gladiators and
bread
plays.
And circuses, yeah.
Right. And they're doing the same thing with us, except they're not filling they're not giving us free food, and they're not sort of pampering us. Instead, they've got us distracted because they've driven such a wedge. So it's so polarizing. Everything is conflict. And we're constantly being bombarded with garbage like Taylor Swift and that loser tight end, Travis Kelce. Like everything is a huge distraction, right? But we have these distractions with Trump. All this civil stuff, all the criminal cases. It's just been one thing. Like every 2 weeks, it's another big thing with Trump, another big thing. As soon as we start to wane on the media cycle of it, something else drops. And I think, we're getting distracted, but we're getting distracted in a way of we're getting turned against each other for our entertainment, so to speak. So, yeah, we're in the collapse. There's no doubt. I don't even think Trump could save us. He could go in and he could have the strongest backbone and have China back down. But the way we have declined in this country where we've just squeezed out the middle class, we've squeezed them out of advanced education. We have no manufacturing jobs in this country. We're not self-sustaining. I was looking at the GDP thing because you had sent me that pie chart, and I thought agriculture would be like 30% of America's GDP, and it's 1.1%, and 30% of our GDP is financial services. I mean, what does that tell you? Like, we're not a self-sustaining country anymore. But anyway,
yeah, you're really starting to see that. Yeah.
Dude, they
one
nuked
last
the
question. Oh, they did.
Yeah.
They always do that. Okay. Well, I mean, I had a couple more questions about Engoron. One was just, I mean, do you think there's any way out for Trump? Because I think we both agreed there's nothing really Trump can do, especially considering that Engoron is 74. He's going to retire shortly.
I mean, his best hope is for somebody to raise hell about the clerk. I mean, that's super sketchy that she privated that account. That means there was something on there that she didn't want people to see. And maybe we missed it, but I thought we caught everything. I'll
go through. Yeah, I'll go through all those screenshots because I took screenshots of everything. So we'll see. I mean, I didn't see anything else that just popped out to me, but
yeah. Anyways,
okay. So there's nothing Trump can do, and that's this goes back to what we said at the very beginning, which is that they put Engoron on this because he's about to retire, and so there's no recourse, there's no accountability whatsoever, and the only thing you can really do is criticize him and criticize his staff.
They've almost made it a detriment, right, to win the presidency, because if you're in the White House, not only are you busy as fuck, but your hands are tied in what you can do in terms of business to go out there and try to earn money back, right? Like, say they sell off most of his assets and take them. Trump still has a pretty big brand. He could spend the next, say he's got, 5 more years going out and really making money off his brand and building up his, what was lost. But if he wins, he won't be able to do that. He's got to run the freaking country.
Okay, so I'm seeing that the stream was not nuked. Agent X.
No, I was looking at the wrong thing.
Okay. Just making sure there. Yeah, so I think you're right. No, you're onto something there, though, too, because, like, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, they'd go out and they'd give speeches or whatever, and of course they weren't really in business before that, but they would be making, and they still do, obviously, like, millions of dollars.
They became rich.
And like, here you have Trump ultra rich, and here you have Trump getting the opposite experience. So, it does set a very harsh precedent for...
I mean, he could definitely go out and make, a few $100 million off his brand for the next few years. But, I mean, he's hamstrung now. They've cornered him into a position, and maybe he should... I always thought he was on the fence as to whether or not he was going to run again. But the fact that he's running again is fucking wild. If you just stop and think about that. Like, he's taking incoming fire like nobody else, and he's still powering through. It's absolutely nuts.
Powering through, and I agree. I think Trump was more angry today than anyone has seen him in a long time. And it's not like a fear-based anger. It's just like raw anger. It's like seeing how corrupt this entire process is. And by the way, he probably knows something about Engoron. They're both the same age. They both grew up in New York. I mean, New York is a huge place, but he's constantly in and out of that court system. So he probably knows a lot more about Engoron than even you or I at this point. So, but I mean, it's kind of depressing to. It felt like a funeral this morning as you saw Eric Trump walk in with Alina Habba, Mommy Habba,
Mommy,
and how amazing Alina Habba looks, and how articulate Alina Habba is. During the initial opening statement, during the sort of like quasi press conference, I think you had mentioned Agent X that you would have wished that Mami Haba would have directed some of that criticism a little more at Letitia James or even Elvin Bragg. But she's really put in this horrible, difficult position. We could go into other people like Kevin Doyle, which we're going to at a different juncture. But for now, I mean, just know that she's in this really difficult position. She doesn't want to kind of get outside of that course because she's already in trouble and through no fault of her own. And, it's a no-win situation, especially for Alina Habba. And she is so good in front of a camera. She looks great, very articulate. Maybe just have a little more refinement in who you're directing your criticism to, and it would be perfect. But other than that, and that's one of those things. I think that when we were talking about this earlier this morning, Agent X, like some of that just comes because you're so angry that kind of acts as a radar to tell you who to direct your criticism to, and it's natural. And when you're representing a client, which Alina Habba is, but this is even more than just representing a client, because Alina Habba is really in the thick of it now, and she's almost like in it herself, but she still doesn't quite have that same sort of raw anger that I think Trump has, or you would have, or even I would have in a situation like this. That just tells you to just really go full bore on Engoron and Allison Greenfield and any other staff member, including previous clerks, frankly, who worked for Engoron, who are responsible for his ascent in this court system. Because again, now when he retires, the only connection that Engoron is going to have to this previous work life is through his clerks, including Allison Greenfield. And if you criticize that enough, that connection, it's going to isolate Engoron, and it's just going to annoy the hell out of him. So that's one avenue where you can really break down his defenses on a personal level. Man, I mean, I think we got 2 million views today just on Twitter.
Wow,
when we were criticizing all these guys. But there was so much other news today, like Matt Gaetz filing the motion to vacate regarding Speaker Kevin McCarthy. We didn't even touch that. The Ukraine funding that's still getting funded. We could go on and on and on, but this fraud trial is so symbolic of what's going on in this country, because we're relapsing into this communist hellscape. And we're seeing it more and more every single day. And what is to say about these kind of millennial women taking over the court system? Do you think it's going to get worse or better? Because I'm about 100% sure that it's going to get significantly worse, because they're in there. These, especially these millennial women, have never really, a lot of them, Allison Greenfield being one of them. I'm not saying I don't want to insult all women for sure, but this one specifically, you can tell that she's probably a hard worker, but she's never really had to experience brutal hard work like sort of a man would in that same chair. And she's going to be power hungry. She's going to want to annihilate people's lives. She's not going to take the middle path through a lot of these decisions. Maybe she will in some of the decisions, but you can see that she is the one who's driving, especially those cheap shots in that decision. That was all Allison Greenfield.
Yep. Bro. But dude, we should wrap it up because I gotta get to bed.
All right, let's do that. Anything else you want to say before we close this down, Age Next?
No, I mean, I think that's, dude. I don't think the trial will be. I think it's gonna go on for a while, and I don't think it's gonna be as wild as it was today. But yeah, I don't know. I think things are gonna heat up here, particularly in the next 45 days, with another government shutdown looming. So and them trying to oust McCarthy, which we can. They're supposed to have a vote within 2 days on that motion to vacate. So we'll have opportunities tomorrow and the next day likely to chat about it. So yeah, dude, no, but it's always good to
Okay.
stream.
We'll shut it down. All right, we'll try and stream later this week. We'll see what happens. Hope everyone has a great start of their week. We'll see you later. Bye.
Thanks for watching Command HQ with Brock and Agent X.
We'll see you next time.